We are going to continue about the Django template. Last week, we already tried with one framework from the Bootstrap. So we learned about the basic Bootstrap, and we learned how we can use the Bootstrap in the Django environment. If you are still memorizing the way to use the Bootstrap, we need to get the link. So here is the link for the Bootstrap CSS, and this is the link for the bootstrap.js. I will explain about the JavaScript after the mid exam, but for now, we can just think that when we are using Bootstrap, we need to get the link from the Bootstrap for the CSS, which is the style, and we need to get the link from the Bootstrap, this is the JavaScript. So when we have the Bootstrap, actually we need to put all those links in the head. And after we put all the links in the head, we can define the body section according to the Bootstrap template. So we already have this example about the view context. Let me just review a little bit. We have the link of contact. We have the link of contact. We have the link of post contact. Okay, so this is the template given by the Bootstrap. So we are just using the web framework, and it can make a kind of form. Of course, this is not a good design. You can later on improve this kind of design, but at least you are making a good HTML file. When you use the HTML, the very basic HTML, you need to define what color is your button, how is the text, how is the drop-down menu, and so on. And the style is just a general style. But with the Bootstrap, you can reuse the existing style and you can make your own style. So last time we already have this one. So we are making form. If you did your assignment, okay. I have not finished checking the assignment, but yeah, some of you use forms. So when you are using the Bootstrap, you can get any classes from the Bootstrap. If you make the the paragraph in the HTML, you can get the classes from the Bootstrap and you can improve your design. Let's say this one, yeah, you have the input. It is the text, and then you have the ID. ID is just a definition that you can define, and you can have a class. So this class is from the Bootstrap. If you understand all the Bootstrap statement, then you can make a good design for your user interface. Let's say this one, we are making one div form group. So this is a class from Bootstrap. We can just reuse from Bootstrap. This is also from Bootstrap, and yeah, many things we want to extract it from Bootstrap. In this case, you need to understand what is the template in Bootstrap, and you can figure out there are many templates available in the internet. So in the contact by Bootstrap, whenever you make a kind of code, so you will have like a hierarchy. So the hierarchy means you will have the container, or maybe this is like the author, and then you will define the row, and then you will define the column. So the idea is similar with table. When you create a table, you will define the row, and then you will define the column or the data cell, which is TD. So whenever you want to make a kind of split in the user interface of the web, yeah, you can have the same idea like this one. So if you can see this one at the first time, you see all the form are in the white screen. So let's see. You can put something in the between default form contact top. So you can see here, default form contact top. You can put this code. You can put this code. So before the form, you are creating a kind of Bootstrap template. So here I make a container, and then I make a row, and I make a column with the mid. The size is 4. So usually the Bootstrap will have like 12. Okay, so it can be split into 3, 4, 4, and 4. Since we have div, we have 3 div. So you need to put the ending div. Okay. So here the default form contact pattern. The default form contact pattern. Yeah, you can put the div. Now if I run again, you can see now the size of the form of this contact becomes fit into the screen, or yeah, you can make this a kind of the design for the contact us. So you can combine this one with the contact us in the website that we created before about the blog. Maybe this is not that fancy, but at least you can see there is a difference with the common HTML. Okay, the result is something like this one. So you can see that this is the user interface. Whenever you use the Bootstrap, okay, this is the idea. When you use span, they have already the separation. They use the number 12 because 12 is divisible, or 12 can be divided with many numbers. For example, if you split 12 into 2, so you can have span 6 and span 6. So there will be 2 layout from the overall layout. and you can have span 4 and span 8. So let's say you want to put the layout in the left, which is smaller than in the right. Or you want to make an equal span. So span 4, span 4, span 4, or you want to make it very small. This is span 1, span 1, span 1, and so on. So this kind of span has been indicated in the bootstrap with 12 units. So the column spans always need to add up to 12. So for example, this one, yeah, column MD4. So in the mid of the layer, I want to make it the size of 4. And the other thing I might give you some insight about this bootstrap is about the grid classes. In order to specify a particular column's width, so we specify both the grid class and the span of the column. So there are some kind of size for the grid. We can use extra small. So the grid for extra small is for phone. If you are making the user interface for smartphone, then you can use the grid for XS. If you are making for tablets, so you can use SM. If you are making for desktop, you can define MD. If you make it as a larger desktop, or big monitor, then you can make the grid size as LG. So this is the example I mentioned before. When you create a column MD, so it means the grid size. The grid size will fit into the medium size. So the medium size can be for the tablet. And we have the 4. So it means because the span is 12, if we have 4, then we have 3 column layout. Okay? The first column, the second column, and the third column. That's the definition from the bootstrap. The other things from bootstrap is about the contextual colors and backgrounds. So when you have the button, for example, or maybe about the paragraph or something related to the background, bootstrap already defined with some keywords: primary, success, info, warning, and danger. Primary. So if we say this is .bg, means the primary background. BG means background. .bg, it means background of success, background of info, background of warning, and background of danger. They already define the color based on some kind of agreement. So if it is a primary button, the color is blue. If it is a secondary button, the color is green. If you click a button and then you have finished, or you can execute the program well, then the color will be green. If you want to delete a file, or if you want to do something, but there should be some kind of warning. Okay. The bootstrap define danger as red and warning as yellow. And if you are going to make an info, so this color, this is cyan color. Okay. And if you want to just make light or dark, so white and black. Okay. And those definition can be used in any kind of tag. For example, here you can see the button. If you are making a button and then you call the button from the bootstrap. So this is the class button and button test primary. So it means the button for this primary will use the blue color. If you use BTN secondary, then the button of this secondary will be the gray color. So let's see another example with the bootstrap. We are going to make a table. I'm going to make a new function, and the function name is index3. In the folder polls, in the file views.py, I can create a new file or a new function. The name is index3. And let's say I'm having a variable named hub, and then I have cities. Oh, I still have the same with the index2. Okay. And now I'm making a table, and the table will be in the different way of in the index2. So the data is the same, but I'm going to use different ways to show these cities. And let's make another head, which is the 7, and we are going to access the index3. And I'm going to make one new HTML file, and the name is hello table. I'm going to make one new HTML file in the folder templates. Hello table. So you can remove the existing HTML file and then paste the code from the PowerPoint. Okay. If you look at the result, we'll change this one with 7. Now you can have a table, and now you will see that the table is more fancy. And you have the search function, which is the assisting function from one of the library in the JavaScript. We call it the data table. Okay? So I will explain this one. Let's say I want to search India. So when you type India, then it shows the country. Or if I want to say Mumbai, so it shows also the city, Mumbai. Then every of the keywords that you put here, it will be shown. Okay. Let's say I want to put 15, then it will automatically show the 15 million data. Because I don't have many data here, I can see only some of the data, but if your data are a lot, you can limit the number of the data that you want to show in one page. And you can also do with this function. So you can reorder, or you can sort. If you are sorting based on the minimum, so it starts from the C. and then M, and then N, and then T. If you sort this on the minimum, so it starts from 7 million and then it goes up to 33 million. If you sort this country, so it starts from India and then India, Japan, USA. Okay. Now let's take a look on the code. We have head. So the head, as I mentioned to you, we are going to get the CSS. So you do not need to define the CSS because here I'm going to use the bootstrap. So we are creating the link, and the link is the relative of the style sheet, and the type is the text or CSS, and this is the link. You can get the newest bootstrap from the official bootstrap website. And the second, I'm going to also get another kind of bootstrap, which is the bootstrap itself. So the first is related to the data table. The data tables are dedicated for making a table. The bootstrap is more general. Okay. So when we are in the domain of industrial engineering, first, we will need this kind of web programming. And second, we need to understand how to make table. Okay. So the first is the web and the second is table. So I would like to introduce these two. So the data tables and the bootstrap will be necessary for making a good analysis or web design, especially if it is related to data. And we are going to use the JavaScript because the CSS and JavaScript are two connected files, especially when we are doing this CDN. Okay. So CDN is the content delivery network. So if we use the existing code from the web, those two should be adopted into our web. I will skip this one. I will later inform this. So you have the body. So the body here, I think it is not difficult for you. We have hello world example with H1, it's the header. We have P, it is the paragraph. And then we have the div, which is the container. So the container is the class from the bootstrap. And what you can see here now, I have a table. So the table is using one ID. The ID is example. And we have the class, it is from the bootstrap. We are going to make a table strip, and table border. So the table have the border, and the table has strip for each of the data. There are many kind of definition, or you can check on the data tables if you want to check. So the data tables JS. You can see here there are many good format for creating table, and you can just reuse. Some of the templates are commercial, but most of them are free. So you can just call the libraries and then use it for your data. So for example, like this one, we have this data, and then we just use the CSS and the JS to make this table. It means you don't need to make a design for creating this table. Yeah, there are many definitions about this class. You can check from the website that I shared before. And yeah, you will see the TR, which is a row, and then we have TH, TH, TH. It means header. And yeah, the head of the table finish until this part. The next one is about the data. We want to get the data from the Python file. And for every city, we want to get the name, population, and countries, and we put it into one cell. Now, after we have this data, how to connect to the Bootstrap? We use the ID. So this ID is example. So whenever we access the web page, we are going to run this JavaScript. So this JavaScript shows that if your web page is ready, then let's run the ID example, the shop. Shop is the ID, and the ID name is example. So let's run the example with the data table. Therefore, for every data that we extracted here and for every definition of the table that we use here, it will be converted into the data table as we saw from the data tables library. Okay, so this is the very basic one about the Bootstrap. So at least you learn about the everything about the Bootstrap with regard to the colors and the backgrounds. And at least I give you one example about the table. And in this section, we learn about the template filters and inheritance. You learn include and extends, and you learn also about the CSS and bootstraps. So let's move to the next section, which is about the database. Any questions? Okay, then I will continue with this section. We are going to discuss about connection between database and Django. In this PowerPoint, I would like to explain about how we create database in Django and how we can access our data. And in any database, we need to do query. If you join the database class, I guess you learn query. The most common, the popular word is the structured query language, or SQL. When you understand this kind of SQL, yeah, it will be helpful for you to be a good programmer. But I'm not giving you all the SQL. This query will be only related to the database in Django. So the order of the code, yeah, you can see now, you need to understand the structure from the Django project. What you learn until now is only the few coding. So it means the few logic registration. And then you learn the URL font, or this is the unified resource location. It will define where is the link and how you will do the link in the Django. It means it will go to any function in the views.py. And then the template coding. So the template coding means the templates directory. It contains of web files. As you already know, it contains the HTML file. So those three you already learned in the previous chapter. And now we are going to make one big project. I call it is a big project because there are many files that you will create. And when you are using PyCharm, it's not that complex because you can just do with a click. When you create a new project, you just click a new project and then they generate some files. For example, settings.py. For example, we have the migrate. Sorry. Oh, this is not about the. Some of them are not about the file name. Okay? But when you are making a new project, you can see there are some .py files. So when in this example, I would like to explain to you the order. The order of the code is first, we are going to make a framework coding. Maybe we will not have time to do all those things now. So we will do until this part and we will do step by step. And please follow me because if you miss one step, then yeah, we will not be able to see the result. So it will be like this order. Okay? So I will do the step by step. Maybe for today, I will just finish, I don't know. Let's see when, which part that I can do until the time. So when we are making the first part, okay, the framework coding, it means you need to make your project. Let's say I want to make the project name as big project. Let's make a new project. So you can go to file and then you will have new project. And you can click on the Django part. In the left part, you can see Django and you just see what are the details here. And that's okay. Let me make it as big project. You can see here. Yeah, if you are using Django, yeah, you need to select whether you want to use the new environment or the previously configured interpreter. If you are using the interpreter in your computer, then it will go to one Python file. And then the additional setting will use Django, and the templates folder has been designated to the templates. So you can just use this default settings. And yeah, let's make it enable Django admin because we are going to learn also this one. You can create and you can choose whether you want to use this window or you want to open a new window. So let me just use this window and I terminate the previous project. As you might know, we have several files here, like the ASGI, settings.py, urls.py, and wsgi.py. Okay, so when we start the project, yeah, we have the project name, and now allowed host. So you can go to the settings.py. There is one line and it mentioned as allowed host. If you already have your hosting, then you can put your host number or your host domain in this location. If you still do not have your host name, then you can just use the very basic one, which is the localhost. Localhost means you will have this number or you will have this name localhost if you run in the PyCharm environment. So like this one, localhost, or you can put the number 127.0.0.1. You can keep it blank, but if you put this one, it will be easier for you to make the web. And yeah, last time I mentioned to you, when you're using the Django 3.2.5 or lower, you need to define the directory where you put your templates. So I give this one plus slash templates. Okay. If you go to the directory, paste here slash templates. But if you're using the Django form, you don't need to modify. You can just use this kind of pattern. So this folder templates will be the place for other relevant files. Now we are just using HTML, but later on, if you have your additional file, for example, CSS or JavaScript JS or images, so you need to put all those files under the folder templates. And next, we are going to use one database, which is SQLite. The definition of the engine is the SQLite tree, and we want to define the name. The name of this database will be located in the base directory or the directory where you put your project. You can see here. So we are going to use the SQLite tree as the database, and the name of this db.sqlite is located in the directory that you make this project. Okay. So previously, we need to understand what is the operating system that you use. Okay. If you are using other operating system like Mac, I guess they will have this kind of statement. So by the default, the configuration use SQLite. If you want to use another kind of database, of course, you need to put what is the database name, and then what will be, for example, the ID or the password and other kind of mechanism. So I don't want to make it more complicated. I will just use the SQLite, which is the default database from Django. Language. Now you always see that the language is English, but actually you can change the language into Korean. So if you go to the below part, you can see the language code. So the language code here is ENUS. It means the English and US. If you want to change to Korea, yeah, you can use KO-KR. If you want to use other kind of languages, yeah, please check your countries. So I just put here ZNCH for the simplified Chinese, ZNTW for the traditional Chinese. Yeah, you can put like this KO.KR to indicate the Korean. Okay. And the time zone. So the time zone is using the UTC. The UTC means by the default configuration use UTC, which is the coordinated universal time. So it is in the +0. You can define the time zone as the Asia dash Seoul, /Seoul. You can change this one, Asia /Seoul. So the time, whenever you show the time into the web, it will show the Korean time. For the use TZ, the default is true to use the UTC time zone. The database will use Asia Seoul time zone instead of UTC when we write pause. If you have your dedicated computer, then it will follow with your dedicated computer. But if you specify the time zone here, it will follow the time zone that you define here. Okay, and what we can do next is about the setting part. We have the terminal. You can see here, terminal. Here, you can see there is a terminal. So when you open this terminal, it shows this is in Korean because PyCharm recognizes my computer as a Korean computer. So they put this shell as the Korean. And yeah, let me just try with this one, Python manage.py migrate. Python manage.py migrate. Yeah, it will check for every of the settings. When you update your settings, like this time zone or the language code or the database name or this directory name and so on, make sure that you have make sure that you do the migrate. So by doing the migrate means you will update all the settings into the current condition. Oh, for the remaining, I guess I need okay, I need sometimes to explain this one because of the time limitation. Let's continue by tomorrow.